Alright, hello everybody, welcome to 720 Degrees, aka 720. This is the NES port of an arcade game, and I came prepared. I got my original skateboard right here. Huge kicktail and everything. However, I'm going to be, highly focused on this game, so Darth Tyrael 85 has graciously agreed to come in and commentate this run for me. And Darth Tyrael actually played a role in helping lower the record time for this game, but I guess we can get into that a little bit during the run itself. So get this started in 3 and a 2 and a 1 and a go.
Earn the rest of your tickets to forward. So the main thing on this ramp here as far as time save is going to be timing out these hand plants, which have 3 variable times. He can do a long, medium, or short hand plant for 3 different amounts of points, but the key when this timer ends is going to be to end as he's heading up the side like that. If he were to do it a little too early or too late, he would actually have ended up doing an extra loop back and forth on the ramp, wasting a whole bunch of time. But of course he's trying to maximize the points for the highest bonus. Again, to earn those tickets, and you see in the top left there, he has a score, a dollar amount, and 1, 2, 3 tickets right now. So each time he enters an event, he will use a ticket. Now the really scary thing is he's not going to get any points for this event because it's faster to just chill here, let the timer run out and fail, quote unquote fail, and move on to the next one, costing him a ticket but earning him nothing. No fear though. He's so good at the overworld portion here with all these little hops, which you can see him performing right here the whole way, while doing it on a shortcutted route, right? A very optimized route to each event. Ooh, a little dip in the water, that'll get you. No worries though, still cruising along. And the goal is to pick up enough points in between events such that you'll have enough points and or money to have the tickets ready for the next event. If you don't have enough tickets ready, you can't enter the event, and there is an overworld timer where, I guess it's a swarm of bees. A swarm of bees comes and gets you. So you really don't want to be wasting too much time or get stuck out there in the overworld without enough points. Now there are 4 events on the map here, and he's heading into the final of the 4. And then there are actually multiple days, so then he'll proceed and repeat this loop on the next day. Now here's the downhill. Now the downhill, as you progress in days, gets a little longer and a little more difficult, but that one was short and sweet. Fortunately, he's got the route pretty well memorized. As it adds additional turns and slopes on it, it's just a little more you have to memorize moving forward. But moving on to day 2, and we just rinse and repeat the events. So again, optimizing points going into him to make sure that he makes up the difference for the points he is not going to get on slalom. He's actually not going to perform that event at all, not even one time. Outright refusal. Now in between the worlds also, we have a couple of choices of how to input our jump and those kick flips or little 360s. And what we actually ended up finding out is, instead of doing a full swipe across the bottom or a full circle on the controller, all we have to do is tap to the right and down, or left and down. So just switching between a neutral button and a direction rather than making the full motion required to actually do the move. And this was really huge, not because it saved any time particularly, but it required half the inputs to do all these very precise little jumps. It looks like he's just hopping around the world, but it's actually really, really tricky to mash those buttons in and get enough jumps to score the points required to do these slalom skips. They're huge. If you have to do even one of these slaloms in order to score enough points to get a token, or a ticket rather, that you wouldn't be able to get into another event, it's a big time waster, and certainly wouldn't contend for world record, as he's been able to skip them all. So every one of these jumps, the more of them you can get in, obviously the better, but it's a pretty precise amount. It's capped, right? You can only do so many before you get to the next one. So basically he's got to do absolutely as many as possible. A little spin out, but that's okay. He took out the Pepsi Man there. And actually destroying that enemy is a little bit of a bonus as well. Now, one scary thing on the jump here is there's this slide mechanic that eventually or occasionally takes over on you, and we do see it sometimes, but you end up getting pretty much going out of control, and your character will just slide, almost like having ice physics. Not a whole lot you can do about it when it takes a hold of you, except for go forward. It's not a very big time loss, and again, as long as you have a really optimized route in between the events and a mastery of popping off as many tricks on your way to them, your score, and we'll see his score, will still be just fine. So we've got the downhill that's going to, of course, be a little longer this time, so now we'll see a little bit of extra course added to it for day 2 here. And in day 3, we'll see the longest version of that. That's the one that tends to get me because, well, I don't always get to day 3 with a good score, and then trying to remember the extra turns is very tricky sometimes. Here he is, class number 3. Now he's just under the ticket threshold and earns it before he gets to the ramp, so he comes into the day actually short. But because the score was on point, he's just got enough to be able to get in there. And this is a huge scoring event now with the bonuses for day 3, because now everything's tripled. Beautiful, and he ends it perfectly again. Again, if any of those hand plants that he's holding on each side of the ramp is too long or too short, with respect to the total time they all add up to by the end of the run, he might end up doing an entire extra loop going all the way up the right and coming all the way back to the left instead of just dismounting the event. And probably the single hardest trick that took, what was this? This didn't even happen until this past year or so, where we finally were able to do a triple slalom skip, where somebody finally mathed out and got good enough at this game in order to not bother with that event at all. And then again, we've got to go for a point grind here, but it's so close, it's not going to take too many jumps to get it. 75,000 for the ticket, and boom, he's good. And then we're going to have to take care of the quote-unquote Pepsi Man again. And there it is, reducing him to ectoplasm. And then the jump again, really not the worst event, pretty quick and easy. The slide mechanic is the only wonky thing that gets a little scary, you know. Nobody likes to slide off the edge, but again, it doesn't cost a whole lot. back to the point grind. And we'll see him come out of many of the events now, slightly short of ticket points. But he nails it and still gets into the downhill. Ooh, not bad there. Okay, that could have been a lot worse. Handled it really well. Sometimes when these gaps eat you up, you get reloaded without enough momentum, and there really is nothing you can do about the repeat deaths when that happens, except for get out of it as quick as possible, which he absolutely did. They respawn you inches away from the edge, and the game has momentum built into it. It's about all you can do is just try to wiggle your way back onto the platform. And here's at day 4, or class 4, the final day. 90,000 points here, so he's going to have a little bit of a grind to get in there. Now this is the first point where we'll see that yellow timer up at the top ticking away. But no worries, he's got the points and he's in before the swarm of bees comes for him. I don't know why it's a swarm of bees, but that's what they've chosen as your nemesis when you run out of time. Now, not only are we trying to get points here and earn as many as possible, but the ramp is probably the biggest bonus as well. So that bar at the top there, he's maxing out and trying to go above and beyond it, because it can fill beyond its level, giving you an even bigger bonus. So there you get 5,000 for that one. You can get 5,500, even though the bar was already full. It doesn't show you that you're getting extra. And that's one of the big, most important bonuses in the game. Thank goodness, though, points are on point. Hey, switching over. Doing another slalom skip with style. $115. And basically points aren't going to matter much anymore. He's got it so well under control that tickets in hand. He's got 2 events left. And we will see him at 125, which is the final point threshold. And that'll be that. And that's really the only thing you have to worry about, is getting in and out of all of the events. You don't need to win them all. This isn't a game where you're ranked on your score per se. It's get through all of the events and complete all 4 classes. So once he hits 125,000 points, he will have access to the final event and is able to complete this game officially. Once it's done, then it just goes into a loop that's basically infinite. And if I recall, the score actually wraps around, so there's not a whole lot of point of going onward unless you want to see the score wrap. He's just going to coast on down the downhill, the longest form of the downhill, and he will end day 4, or class 4.
Alright, well, that's an okay time, I would say. Alright, well, that's an okay time, right on that 13-minute mark. Right on that 13-minute mark there. But,
pretty darn good.
There were some bad falls in the middle. Really bad falls in there. Like, having a game where everything really comes together in a single run, I mean, 720 is usually not that forgiving. So I'm more than happy with this for a marathon run. But just wanted to give a quick shout out to both Darth Tyrio for the time he put into this game to help optimize it, and for doing the commentary for this run. And also Old School McFly, who's another person who plays this game, who indirectly helped out with routing the overworld stages a bit.
I appreciate the shout out, and I agree with the old school. I think only you and old school are the only people who are capable of the 13 or sub 13 currently on this earth. So it is quite the solid time indeed, especially in a marathon.
So if you land a trick right as you collide with a fence, this happens. This is just something I do to end a lot of my runs. But thank you, RGL, for having me on here. And remember to feed the kids.
All right, guys, we are switching over right now and getting things ready to go. Thank you to Darth Tyrael and SCXCR. Appreciate that very much. Let's see here. We are going to get things going on the next run. We have, this is the wrong thing, the wrong scene.